Hey everybody, Aaron Bishop here with Darish Kai on behalf of the Patterns of Life Bible. The openings of many books, they're rather dull and dry, and they really don't have great patterns to examine. But there are a few exceptions, and today we're going to look at an exception, and that is John chapter 1, a theologically deep and profound passage that's just a small part of the first chapter of John, but it sets the stage for the rest of the book, and it really highlights the reason why so many people, when they come to the faith, they're told to go to read John first, because John is packed full of theology. Let's take a look at it and see what we can see. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. Those words are rather famous, second only to in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. And that's one of the reasons people tend to go to John, is because it begins with in the beginning, just like Genesis does. And it returns us back to that creation story. And it tells us that when God created, he wasn't alone. There was someone with him. And who was it that was with God? Well, when we get to 8 prime, we see that no one has seen God at any time, only the Son, who is in the bosom of the Father. He is the one who is with God in the beginning. He is the one that has made all things. And I know it says in the theme index down here at the bottom, it says God and only Son. If we were to get super technical, it would say God and the one who is with him. But because of the text of the passage and the context that it's found in, we know that it is the Son who's there. In B and B prime, we find that through Jesus, several things came into being. In B, we find that all things were made by him, and without him, not a thing was made that was made. So without Jesus, not a thing in creation would be here. He was an active part of the creation. And in B prime, we find that the law was given by Moses, and grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. Now, this verse is actually a very unfortunate translation, and it appears in nearly every English Bible. But the word but doesn't exist in this passage. There's not a contrast here. The law is given through Moses, but grace was given through Jesus. It's a continuation of thought. The law was given through Moses. The grace and truth came through Jesus. It's just a continuation of thought. If you turn back to the Greek, but doesn't exist there. It's something that was added by interpreters. And if your translation italicizes words that were inserted by interpreters, this word you will find is italicized in your translation. For those who don't have that convention in their Bibles, this word recognized, it doesn't exist in the text. We could just mark it out. It's not an opposition of thoughts. It's a continuation of thoughts. And that puts a whole new spin on what's being said in that verse. In C, we read of grace being given to men. In him was life, and in life was the light of men, and the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Again, we're back at creation with light and dark, and Jesus himself being the light of men. Light is separated from the darkness. He is the light. He is the one that helps us to see. He is the one who brings things. And these gifts of light and life, they're grace. The word charis in Greek, it means gift many times, because when you're given grace, there is a gift that's attached to that grace. And that gift, in this case, is life and light. Two things that the world needs to exist, two things that all life on this world need to exist. And in C prime, in him, we've all received the fullness of grace. We've received the fullness of grace through Jesus. He is the one who brings grace for us. He is the one who bestows the gift on us. He was not only an active component in creating the world, he sustains us through life and light, but then he also gives the gift of grace to mankind, that gift of salvation, that gift that allows us to get off of the trajectory of darkness that we're naturally in, just like creation. We begin in darkness, and through him, we can be brought into the light. Indeed, then we read of this other man, a man who preceded Jesus, a man named John, not John, the author of this book, John the Baptist. And John the Baptist was the one who bore witness to the light. He went before Jesus. He was the one who announced Jesus. And we see that in both D and D prime, that John bore witness of him, was the one who came before him. And in D, we read that he gave this witness so that all men might believe. And in D prime, we find that John, he puts himself lower so that Jesus can be raised. And he declares that Jesus, who is coming after me, he was before me. which is a super profound statement because we know from the book of Luke that Jesus was born 6 months after John the Baptist. And yet John the Baptist, this older man, is saying this man who comes after me, not just in birth order, but also in ministry, he's greater than me because he existed before me. John's making a super profound statement there that Jesus didn't start existing at his birth. He existed long before his birth. In fact, he existed at creation, according to the opening of John here. In E and E prime, we find that this one who was with God in the beginning, this one who created light and life, this one who gives grace, this one who's greater than John the Baptist, he is coming into the world. In E, we read that he's coming into the world to provide light and illumination for all mankind. And in E prime, he is the Word made flesh, and he dwelt among us. He dwelt in the world. He existed here in our midst. And that while he was here, humankind beheld his glory, the glory such as viewing the King of the world walking past, parading past you. People for ages have gone out to see the sons of kings and queens, or to see kings and queens themselves. Well, Jesus is the same type of glory in the world, only he's so much greater because he's not just a king or queen. He is equal to God. He was there in the beginning with God, and he is the one through who creation was made. And in F, we get to the crux of the matter. Yes, Jesus came as the light for all mankind. Yes, he did create light and life, and he is the one who sustains all things. Yes, he has given us grace of salvation, and yes, he is here for all men. But there's a catch. There are those who will accept him. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. He came unto his own, and they received him not. You can reject this light. But to as many as who do receive him, he gave the power to become sons of God themselves. Even for those that believe on his name, which were born not of blood, nor of the will, nor of flesh, nor the will of man, but of God. It's the same thing that Paul says in the book of Galatians, that the seed of Abraham is by faith. The seed of God is by faith, not by blood, not by flesh. It's something that anyone can be adopted into by believing and by accepting and by declaring allegiance to this king. And so while, yes, Jesus did come for all mankind, well, yes, he does give all men life, and he is the light of all men, and he came so that all men might believe. There will still be some who do not accept. There will still be some who reject. And that is a choice that is on every man. Some will reject Jesus. Others will accept him. The choice then is, which side are you on?